Good morning, everyone. This is Mr. Hookins, and I'm just going to record a translation for the first 56 lines. Conticuere, note the historic infinitive, omnes, all of them fall in silent as he starts off. So they all fell silent, and they kept their gaze intent upon him. So omnes conticuere, they all fell silent, and they tenebant, and they held their gaze intent upon him. Notice that the tenebant, again stressing Aeneas' skill as the storyteller, the power that he holds over them. From there, Aeneas thus spoke. So from there, I don't know why that's given such a long line there. That must be a mistake that they've actually done there. So from there, Father Aeneas, rising up from his couch, spoke thus: "You ask me, Jubes, you ask me, Regina, Queen." Again, this is obviously Queen Dido, to recall a wretched grief. Troianas ut eruerant. How the Greeks, how the Danae, how the Greeks eruerant, how the Greeks overthrew the wealth, the Trojan wealth, Troianas, opes, and our pitiful kingdom. The sights which I myself saw these things, these most pitiful things, and of which I was a large part. Quis, who of the Myrmidons, make sure that you know that the Myrmidons are the troops of Achilles, or of the Dolopians, or of which soldier of harsh Ulysses would be able to hold back from tears in speaking Fando Talia, such things. And now, we said humid, didn't we? Damp, and now damp night, praecipitat, and now damp night is speeding down, is moving down from the sky. So, and now damp night, praecipitat, flies down from the sky, and the cadentia sidera, and the the setting stars bring on, note the sibilants, the alliterated s, bring on sleep. But if tantus amor, I talked about the love of Dido, maybe here been sort of slightly confused with or could be confused with the love of hearing the speech, with the eagerness to hear the speech. But if such, literally, if your desire, if your want is such to learn of our disasters, but if tantus, if you have so much desire, cognoscere, to hear of nostros casus, of our disasters, of our misfortunes, and to briefly listen to the final suffering of Troy, although my heart shrinks, horet meminisse, to remember it, and refugit, and recoils in pain, incipiam, I will begin. Fracti, we then had, notice the alliterated F and the chiastic structure here, broken in war and repulsed by the fates, the leaders of the Greeks, with so many years now slipping by, aedificant, build with the divine skill of Pallas Athena. Make sure that, again, we talked about yesterday, Pallas Athena disliking the Trojans because of her own being turned down, because of her own self being turned down in the beauty contest. And also we talked about the support, the patronage of Athens, but that's really actually considered to be less than the beauty contest. So with so many years gliding by, build with the divine art of Pallas, a horse of the size, instad montis, the size of a mountain, and they interweave its ribs with cut pine, with planks cut from pine. Where am I? Again, look at the personification of the horse. Again, I told you that Peter Jones talks about the this next sentence that's coming up pretty soon, or it's actually not just yet, but the bit where we've got the emptiness in comparison with the womb. The pregnancy, the sort of monstrous pregnancy, the pregnancy containing within it death. Votum pro. So now we've got the pretense, the subterfuge, if you will. So they simulant. They pretend that it is a They pretend that it's an offering for their return. So votum pro simulant. They pretend that it's an offering for their return. Ea fama. That story is spread. Huc here they includunt. For this bit, do we want to say in secret? I would say here in secret, kaiko. So again, look for words of secrecy and hiding. Again, linked potentially to Ulysses. Here, kaiko, in secret, they enclose the delecta, the chosen bodies of men, sortiti, selected by lot, furtim, secretly in the dark, within its dark sides. We would say within the kaikos of furtum, secretly within its dark sides. And they penetus, and from deep within, they fill the huge cavern of its belly, and from deep within penitus, they fill the great cavern of the huge cavern of its belly with armed soldiers, armato milite. Est, there is, I suppose here we could talk about suspended narrative, we've talked about this before, there is in sight, in view, an island well known by its fame, notissima, very well known by its fame, Tenedos. Again, needing to make it clear that it needs to be within sight, it needs to be nearby enough that they can get there, that the Greeks can get back in time when they're let in. Also, we have this next bit, the fact that it's male fide carinis, the fact that the Greeks deliberately chose it because it seemed to be a place where you wouldn't be able to, where you wouldn't trust it for anchorage for its boats, but the Greeks obviously do trust it, and but it makes it clear that that's why the Trojans don't, I suppose, suspect it. So there is in sight, in view, an island most well known by its fame, Tenedos, rich in wealth, while the kingdom of Priam was still remaining. Now only a bay and unsafe for anchoring for keels. We've got the synecdoche there for the carinis, reflecting the keels, which then reflects the whole ship. So adds a vivid nature to the imagery. Hook to this place. They came, and condunt, and they hid themselves on the litore, on the deserted shore in litore deserto. We, believing again this nature of the trusting Trojans, remember that these trusting Trojans are going to actually, even in the next book, take on a Greek again after all of this betrayal, surviving from Ulysses' men. We, trusting that they had gone, and that they had and that they were making for Mycenae with the wind. Mycenae, by the way, the land of Agamemnon. Ergo, we thought that they had gone, and with the wind that they were heading for Mycenae. So all the Trojan land comes from Teucer, who was one of the early kings of Troy. Therefore, all the Trojan land frees itself, personification, as one of you pointed out, from long grief. Pandontor, the alliterated P's. The gates lie open. It is pleasing to go and look at the Doric camp, the deserted stations, and the shore that has been left behind, that has been forsaken. Here, there are the groups of Dolopians. Here, sorry, I've just lost my place. Here, the groups of Dolopians. Here, savage Achilles was raging again. Here, the Trojans thinking back. So at this point, Aeneas and the Trojans thinking back. So here, they're deliberately choosing what they remain. Here was a place for their fleet. Here, they were accustomed to meet with us, to compete with us, to fight with us in their battle line. Pars, stupet. Some are amazed at the, and what did we want to say there? At the, some are amazed, pars. Some wonder at the gift, the donum. Again here, the idea of whether or not it actually is a gift, the irony of it being a gift. So some wonder at the deathly gift of the maiden Minerva. Peter Jones points out that actually at this point, chronologically speaking, Aeneas wouldn't have known that it was Minerva, so this is him again recollecting on it now with hindsight. So some wonder at the gift, at the deadly gift, rather, of the maiden Minerva, and they mole miranto, again look at the sounds of the words, and they wonder at the size of the horse. And they marvel at the size of the horse, massive nature of the horse. And first Thymoetes argues that it should be brought within the walls and placed on the citadel. Now Thymoetes lost his son because his son was killed. His son was born on the same day as was sacrificed, was born on the same day as Paris, when the curse was that someone was born on that day that was going to cause destruction to Troy. And they actually went after his son. So just some background information there about Thymoetes. So first, Thymoetes encourages that urges maybe, that it be taken within the walls and lodged in the citadel, either that it was treachery or the doom of Troy was already heading that way. So sive dolo, either by treachery or because the fate of Troy was already verebant, directed towards this way. And Capys, another person in Troy, but Capys and those whose minds, of whom their minds were, their wisdom was wiser in counsel, they urge that it praecapitare, they urge us either to hurl it headlong into the sea. They urge us, to hurl it into the sea. The ambush, to hurl headlong into the sea, this trickery of the Greeks, this dona suspecta, this untrustworthy gift. So they urge us to hurl into the sea this treachery of the Greeks, these mistrusted gifts, and to burn it with flames, subjectis, from underneath, heaped up from underneath, placed underneath, or terebrare, or to pierce it and to terebrare, to pierce and to probe the kawas latebras, the hollow latebras, hiding places of its uteri, of its belly. Again, it's a fairly horrific image, isn't it? Scinditur, the wavering crowd. Look at the scinditur position of the word at the start of the sentence. The uncertain vulgus, the incertum vulgus, the uncertain, the wavering crowd is dragged in different directions. Primus, we then have Laocoon, priest of Neptune, and there sometimes was the priest of Apollo, according to other mythology, also son of Priam. But here he comes along. Not only does he speak well, he's also incredibly tough. Then first, in front of all of them, and with a great crowd approaching, Primus will notice the drama, Laocoon ardens, burning, in hot haste I've read there, runs down from the height of the citadel. So there, first, ahead of all the others, Laocoon, with a great crowd approaching, burning, runs down, burning from the top of the citadel, as in burning with passion. And from far off, he cries, "O misery, my poor citizens, what is this great insanity? Do you believe that the enemies have gone? Do you believe any gifts of the Greeks to be lacking in dolis, in trickery? Is this how you know? Is this the Ulysses that is known to you? Sic notus Ulysses." Again, some people write about this, the irony that actually Ulysses is probably within the horse, actually listening to this exact thing. Either Greeks are hidden, here's that bit I've told you about, the ligno occultantur, with the elision where the O is hidden, reflecting the elision. Either the Greeks enclosed are hidden within this frame, or it is machina, or it has been built as an engine of war as a machine of war against our walls, about to look down upon our homes and to descend upon the city from above, or some other, or some other threat, some trickery lurks inside. People of Troy, do not trust the horse. Trojans, do not trust the horse. Whatever it is, I fear I fear Greeks, especially those bearing gifts. So we have some nice xenophobia against the Greeks there. Sic fatus, thus he spoke. And now we get to see the physical power in addition to his spoken rhetorical power. So speaking thus, with great force, with great strength, he hurled the huge spear into the side of the beast. Speaking thus, with great strength, he hurled the ingentem hastan, the huge spear, notice the size, the power, into the side of the ferry of the beast, and its into the side of the beast, and the arched frame of its belly. So into the latus, into the side of the beast, and the album, and the curved frame of its belly. It stood there trembling. Again, the power, the strength, this force. Again, how close they are to actually realizing the truth. It stood there quivering, and with the recuso, with the echoing, with the reverberation of its belly, the insonuere, kawai cavernai, the empty vaults, I suppose. The vaults rang empty. The cavernai rang, so the empty vaults echoed and gave a gemetum and gave a groan, the personification again. And if the fates of the gods, if the decrees of the gods, if our mind had not been laiwa, had not been warped, should we say, for the conditional here, he would have forced us to violate, he would have driven us to foidare, to violate, to attack the Argolikas, the Argive hiding place, with steel. He would have driven us, he would have allowed us to attack the Argive hiding place with steel, and Troy would now be standing, and you, high citadel of Priam, would still remain. Very well done, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow.